Welcome everyone to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. We're going to get into we have a special guest with us today, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back, everyone, to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. And today we have an amazing guest. His name is Jim Hoy. Jim, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing well today. And Jasmine, you can call me Coach. My kids call me Coach.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, that's fine. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, anytime. So, Coach, let's get started. About your program, 412 Boxing. How did it start, and what inspired you to create it?
You know what, Jasmine? I coached basketball for years, and actually, early in my career, I coached with your producer Leon Thomas, who was an outstanding coach himself. But I coached basketball for years, and then I retired recently, and then I thought, okay, so what I'm gonna play golf and watch Fox News the rest of my life? I don't think so. Boxing was always my first passion. And there was a gym in Pittsburgh, and the guy who was running that gym, he was an older retired police officer. He was in poor health, and he came to me and asked me if I would coach there. And I said, I really don't know that much about it. And he said, yeah, but you know coaching and you know kids, and that's 90% of it. And I started out with one kid, and now we have about 31 kids, and we just won 2 national championships. So. I'm glad he had some confidence in me and my ability to work with kids and to teach, and it's been a really good experience for me so far, and certainly for the kids.
That's amazing. We definitely need a lot of programs like that to just add something for the youth and to inspire the youth to find ways to find leadership, find ways to stay active and different things like that. So that is amazing. And speaking of which, who sponsors 412? I saw on the website it had the police chief of Pittsburgh and the judge.
You know what? Here's what happened. You start with one kid and he has some success, and you have a little more success, and then people start to pay attention and people start to notice. We're part of the Police Athletic League, and so our chief of police here, Scott Schubert, is very involved with our program. And then he brought down Marquise Pound. I don't know if you know Marquise. He's from Florida. Mm-hmm. He played for Urban Meyer at University of Florida, and then he played for the Steelers for the last 15 years. And he came into our gym, and he said he was going to stop in just to say hi. He's just getting ready to retire from the Steelers. And he ends up staying for the whole practice. And then afterwards, he says to me, Coach, can I talk to you for a minute? And I'm like, oh, man, this big dummy's going to ask me to coach him in boxing. Please don't ask me that. Because they all think they can box, right?
Right.
So he puts his big old paw on my shoulder and says, Coach, you're the best coach I've ever seen. And how would 10,000 help? I said, 10,000 what? 10,000 what? Don't mess with me. 10,000 what? And he wrote me a check for $10,000 on the spot. Wow. I hope I'm not embarrassing him, and I hope I'm not leading other people to his door. You never want to do that to anybody, but he was the start of us really becoming self-funded. And since then, we've raised, well over $40,000 this year, and it's enabled our kids to, we just got back from Texas. We get to Texas for 10 days and fight in nationals, and we won 2 national championships. And that all leads back to one guy, and that's Marquise Pouncey. So my heart for that guy. We even put his football number, which is 53. We put his number on our gear. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it truly is an amazing story. And then I was like, wait a second, you played for Urban Meyer and Mike Charles. You're telling me that I'm the best coach you've ever seen? Stop it. You got me, you almost got me.
Yeah, for me, I actually know Marquise because I'm a huge Gators fan. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, Marquise Pouncey. So yep. I saw him play for Gators. I, of course, see him play for Pittsburgh. So I'm familiar with him. And speaking of which, you guys just won nationals in Texas, and that was gonna lead me to my next question. Are you guys looking to expand outside of Pittsburgh and maybe go into different locations?
You know what? I've thought about that. We're right now helping a sister gym in central Pennsylvania, about 3 miles, about 3 hours from here. We're training their coaches and their kids right now. We're training their coaches to teach what we teach. Now, of course, there are a million different ways to teach boxing, but we've had some success with ours, and we think if you follow our formula, you're certainly going to have some success if you work hard.
Right, of course.
Yeah. So we are definitely thinking about expanding it, and we currently are.
That's amazing. What about Pittsburgh makes boxing so good? Like, your program is in this area. What makes Pittsburgh so great for boxing?
Well, I think it goes back to generations of tough people whose grandfathers and great grandfathers grew up working in the steel mills. You can't complain to these guys about how hard practice was today. Their grandfathers and their fathers steel mills. They don't want to hear about that. You're having fun in the boxing gym. I'm working in a steel mill where it's 200 degrees all day.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tradition of tough, hard-nosed people here in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that even goes with the football team, with Steelers being such a huge franchise, one of the biggest franchises in history in the NFL. So it's a very big, tough city.
It is. When you talk about football in Western Pennsylvania, and of course, I'm a huge fan of football. Listen, I can open my door here to the public address announcement from the stadium. That's how close I live to.
Wow.
Field. I live on North Side. But when you think of the football players that come out of here, just at quarterback alone, Dan Marino and Joe Montana and Joe Knight, it just goes just at one position. There's just so many. Then, just great linebackers like Richard, the Redskins, and LeVar Arrington. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Our football tradition here is outstanding, and I think our boxing is reflecting in our boxing too. We're just tough, hard-nosed kids here, and girls. Our girls fight.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Ways from here. She's training with Roy Jones Jr. right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my good friend Teddy McConjo over on Route 51, gold medal boxing, was her amateur coach here in Pittsburgh. So our girls are tough here too. Don't get that twisted.
It's a very tough city, so you make sure you guys listen to that. Pittsburgh is a tough city. But leading into that, when you talked about the youth and how you're building this youth and helping kids and stuff, how do you recruit these young kids to go into boxing? How did you recruit them?
You know what? Believe it or not, Instagram is a big part of that.
Oh yeah.
They say now, hey, if it isn't on Instagram, it didn't happen, right?
Right.
So that's a big part of it. But another part of it is we go from neighborhood to neighborhood and practice outside. Mm-hmm. We'll go downtown in Market Square and we'll practice outside. We'll go over to North Side and practice outside. We'll go to Mount Washington, practice outside, and people see it. And usually 99% of the time it's mothers and grandmothers who stop and pull over, and they immediately say how handsome I am. I'm used to that, and then they ask how their kid can get involved, and that's how we recruit. And like I said, we started at 1, and now we have 31 kids.
That's amazing. It's going to continue to keep growing, I'm sure. And speaking, you've named some big name people like Marquise Pouncey, Roy Jones Jr., who was a legend in boxing himself. What other big name people have been in this organization and possibly who have trained the youth, and the youths can see these people like right in front of them? What other big name people were there?
You know what, Jasmine, you may not, this is funny, but our kids, we trained with Roy Jones every Saturday leading up to the Tyson fight.
Really?
Yeah, he trains here in Pittsburgh at a small town called Ambridge, which is about Leon knows where that is. That's about 15 minutes from where we are. Mm-hmm. So we would go down there every Saturday, and it was kind of funny at first. At first the kids are a little starstruck, but then after a while they just walk in and pound and hey, what's up? And like, hey, what's up, Silky? What's up, Beanie? So he got to know all of our kids, and it just became commonplace for our kids to be around someone who has such a great character and presence. And and I don't know if our kids learned any boxing from Roy Jones Jr., but they learned presence, and that's a big part of it.
Of course.
And our kids really picked up on that from him, how he carries himself, how he conducts himself, how he has time for everyone, and he was just a great guy and a great role model for our kids. And him and his coach, Tommy Yankello, could not have been more generous, allowing Mike to come there every Saturday.
That's sweet of him. Did you you and the youth, did you guys watch the fight between him and Tyson?
Can I tell you something crazy?
Yeah.
I don't watch sports.
Really?
Never.
Wow.
I have no interest. Does the mailman go for a walk on his day off?
Good question.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
That's how I feel about sports. Like, hey, I coached 3 hours today. I'm not going to come home and turn the TV on and watch more boxing.
Right.
I've had enough. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So I'm really not I'm not a sports fan. I'm really not, believe it or not. I see sports as a vehicle, and not as I don't see it as an end. I see it as a vehicle. It's the start of something that can lead to, we have kids that, have gone on to other sports and gotten scholarships and academic scholarships. And I just see sports as a vehicle, not as the end all.
And me, when you say that, it's like, and me, I'm like a huge sports fan. That's what I'm trying to become, like a sports analyst. And I watch sports all the time. So I was really interested when you said Roy Jones.
I interrupt. You're going to be great at it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No doubt in my mind.
And it's so amazing because when you did say Roy Jones Jr., I was like, wow, that's a big name person in boxing. So I was like, did they watch the fight? What were your reactions? So that's really cool that the kids were able to witness somebody like that, one of the legends, that a lot of people will never meet. And speaking of which, I was going to ask you, what do you think of the current state of boxing? If you are familiar with any of the things going on with.
I am. Let me tell you that there's a couple great things going on in boxing right now. One of them is the Paul brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Logan and Jake.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me tell you why. I don't think they're very good boxers, and I think that it's BS. And I think that they're taking opportunities away from guys who deserve it. You know what I mean? Because of their celebrity. So much they are bringing so much positive attention to boxing.
Right.
And when it needs it the most.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What will we do without it? You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk. Stay in touch with Jasmine on her social media channels to see videos, featured guest interviews, and much more. Find Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. On Instagram, it's at GameSpace_sports. And you can find Jasmine on YouTube by searching GameSpace Sports Content. First Impression Sports Talk airs each Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can see the show live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you missed the live show, we have you covered. A recorded version is always available on social media. And now, back to more First Impression Sports Talk.
So I was asking, we were having before the break, we were having a great conversation about the state of boxing. You were talking about the Paul brothers, and you were saying you don't think they're great boxers, but just the showbiz of it is becoming more of a bigger platform for them. So you can continue with that.
Yeah, you know what? They're great for the sport because they're bringing attention to the sport and it's bringing kids to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bet you in the last year, I've had 3 or 4 kids, at least 3 or 4 kids who have come in the door. And the reason they're there is because they know who the Paul brothers are and they've started watching YouTube boxing videos. So that's the plus side. And they're bringing a lot of attention to the sport when MMA has kind of pushed boxing to the side. There was a time in America when every man, woman, and child knew who the heavyweight champion of the world is. And that's not the case. That is no case. From Jack Dempsey to Joe Louis, everybody up to Mike, everybody knew who the heavyweight champion of the world is. That's not the case anymore because, boxing hasn't done as good a job promoting their sport. I think boxing got lazy and I think boxing got repetitive and MMA pushed them to the side and good for them. They absolutely outworked boxing recently.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm glad you brought that up of how boxing hasn't promoted well. And when you add YouTubers, big star YouTubers like the Paul brothers, and you add them to that sport, and we know a lot of kids watch them. Actually, my sister, she watches a little bit of them. She's not too big of a fan of them, but she knows who they are, and they're very familiar. And the younger generation, they were like, oh, that's Logan Paul, that's Jake Paul. I want to see them fight such and such. They may not know who they're fighting, but it's like, oh, I want to see him. And that's a really cool sport. So even for me, like personally, I'm not fond of them. I do not think they're good boxers, but for them as overall bringing more showbiz, bringing more hype to the sport of boxing, it's very amazing. But back to the beginning, what we were talking about, what was the background in you being a coach for basketball? And if Leon wants to chime in, he can chime in too. What was that experience like, and how was that at the time for you when you were coaching for basketball?
I played basketball, high school, college. I love the sport. I was a foster child. I grew up in a family with 13 brothers and sisters, with a lot of problems. And I was a good athlete and headed down the wrong road. And my high school coach and his young wife, and I mean, they were like 27, 28 years old. They adopted me at 14. So I was a foster child, and they put me through, they made sure that I graduated from high school. First person in my family graduated from high school, and the first person in my family graduated from college ever, to every generation till we got back off the boat from Ireland. So I was more impressed with what the power of coaching than I was the power of sports, because I saw what one coach did for my life. And so, I've lived my life feeling like that I owe, what I mean? And it's a sweet debt to pay. Not like that student loan I'm still trying to pay off. But it's a debt that I enjoy paying back. And that's why I coach and got into coaching. And I happen to get good at it from working hard. I don't know anything that any other coach does. I don't know any special techniques or whatever, but I do know the answer is in the gym, and you got to put the time. You got to put the time in.
Correct.
And I was fortunate enough to coach with Leon when we were at the age where we didn't think we knew everything, and where we sure found out we didn't in a hurry. But we got good. We both got good at our craft. So I was fortunate to have had him in the gym with me on a daily basis, and me and those kids who are now grown men. We just had dinner here. This is the team I coached in '86 and '87. We had dinner here at my house last year, all of them. And first thing they want to talk about is Leon. So we had a good run, and it was a great experience.
It was an enjoyable time, but Jim, I have to just give you're almost too humble at what you've done for so many kids. I've seen it firsthand. First, Jasmine, he talked about the importance of being in the gym.
Right.
If one of the players said, "I can't make it until midnight," Coach Hoy's answer was, "Okay, I'll see you at midnight. You got to get in the gym."
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can be there at 6 a.m, Coach. All right, I'll see you then. 6 o'clock it is. It was never no. And there were some players that other coaches in other sports or even at other schools would look at and say, he's never going to make it. Not going to happen. Jim would say, oh no, he's going to make it because we're going to make him work until he does make it. And that work ethic, right? Coach, I want to talk about something that you mentioned in an article that I saw. A reporter asked you about dreams.
Dreams are for...
Go ahead. Take it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Dreams are for suckers. Monkeys aren't allowed to drink. I say, I have a sign in the window that says, your dreams stop here. Dreams are for suckers. Because while you're home dreaming about being a world champion, we're in this rat hole basement busting our butts. We believe in goals. If you set goals and you check the boxes, you ain't got time for dreams. And I promise you, my dreams ain't got nothing to do with boxing. All right? So that's how we feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's powerful.
Yeah, and that's what I believe. Dreams are, go ahead, keep dreaming, because we're gonna be in here working while you're dreaming. Okay, dreams are for suckers. You know what I mean? And my experience nowadays is all the kids that I know that are dreaming about being champions or dreaming about being NBA players or NFL players. The kids that are dreaming about it, they're generally on PlayStation at 3 o'clock in the morning and sleeping all day. But they're dreaming of playing in the NFL. We don't live that lifestyle. We make goals, we check off boxes, and we win. And it's that simple. Now I got to tell you this one. Okay, I can tell you this because this would get Leon in trouble. Okay, so we were ranked number 2. We were ranked number 2 in the state at the time in Northgate High School, and we played a very bad Catholic school team. And we were at their place, and we were picked in the paper to win by 30. And with about 15 seconds left, the game was tied.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids took it for granted that we were going to win. I think that I took it for granted that we were going to win. And we ended up making 2 foul shots with 3 seconds left in the game to win the game. A game which we would have been on the cover of every paper in Pennsylvania if we'd have lost that game. That would have been like upset of the decade. So the kids go in the locker room and they start getting dressed. And I said, whoa, what are you doing? Leave your uniforms on, get on the bus. Now, this is Friday night, 10 o'clock. They got on the bus in their uniforms. We went back to our high school, and we practiced that night until midnight. And I told the kids, I said, guys, I can't go to bed like this. I got to get this out of me right now. We are practicing. So then Monday, I get called into the superintendent. Leon's mostly behind this. I get called into the superintendent, and they say, did you guys have a game Friday night? And I said, yeah, we won. And he said, yeah, I saw you won. He goes, did you guys practice at midnight in that gym? And I said, are you trying to tell me my kids broke into school on their own and had their own private practice? I love them kids. That's why we won. Yeah, so that's Jasmine. Yeah.
It's tough love. It's tough love.
Yeah, it is. It is. And how about this? And then 25 years later, they're all sitting at my kitchen table having dinner. And so it is tough love, and the big word is love. I love those kids to this day. So I've been very fortunate, to coach kids like that and have assistant coaches like Leon that say, okay, coach, we'll practice at midnight. That's what we're doing, And the next time we played them, Jasmine, It was 27-4 at the end of the first quarter. They couldn't get the ball in bounds. Okay. Because playing the dance, we planned to dance for after the game. So I said, guys, if this is close, we're going to have to cancel that dance and have practice. So they never had a dance.
Yep, that's right. I mean, Jim, the relationships that you built with your players, and I can only imagine that you're doing it now with the players that the boxers that you're coaching. You also mentioned that you had some champions. You won some gold at the National Junior Olympics. Tell us about some of those boxers.
You know what? One of them is, let me tell you a little bit about boxers, Jasmine. I don't know if you know this about boxers, okay? Usually I get the leftovers, okay? Mm-hmm. The junior high coach, he's already got the best athlete in the school. You know what I mean? The high school football coach, he's already got the best athlete. He's got the quarterback. The baseball coach, he's already got, the shortstop who's the best athlete in the school. We get kids who are pretty much cut from every other sport. And they're generally nerdy kids who get picked on.
Right.
And they come see me for 2 years and boy, you better leave that one alone. All right. Mm-hmm. You better leave that one alone. So that's the funniest thing about boxing is they're not who you think they are. They're not tough. They're not bullies. Okay. They're not loud kids. By and large, they're shy kids who have been the victims of bullying themselves and have been neglected by their high school coaches. Leon, right now I have Jasmine, I have two kids who won national championships. They're both 6'3", 170 pounds. They're in different ages. Okay. Can you imagine those kids playing defensive end? Whoo.
Right.
Wow. You got Lawrence Taylor on both corners coming downhill. Stop it. But when they came in the door, they were tall, skinny, shy, quiet kids who would have got their heads knocked off on a football field. And they've worked so hard and turned themselves into really, really good athletes. And a lot of times people think, oh, they're born athletes. No, they're not. No, they're not. Don't give them credit like that. Give them credit for working hard and making themselves and building themselves into sometimes. Oftentimes people look at a kid and say, oh, he's a great athlete. No, not. You're just saying, oh, he's good because he was born that way? No, he's good because he's in the gym every day working his butt off. And he's gone from a kid who couldn't do 3 push-ups to a kid that can do 300 push-ups, and that's the case. That's actually happened in our gym. And, we had a kid last night, probably a 12-year-old kid. We were sparring. He got a bloody nose. And, of course, he's crying, right? And we got this gym full of guys that look like just tough, hard-nosed kids. And I grabbed the kid and I said, you see every one of these big, tough kids? I've seen every one of them in tears. Every one of them have had their head on my shoulder sobbing.
If there was a Jim Hoy, 2 Jim Hoys in every city, what a different place the world would be. Kids would have more opportunities. Kids would have more confidence.
Good or bad?
That would be good. That would be good. Go ahead, Jasmine. I'll back out again.
Yes.
So
Traders,
Coach,
by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Coach, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned before some of your kids won the nationals. If you don't mind, what were some of their names, or how did that? Yeah.
We won the elite male, which is 18 and over. His name is Sonny Taylor, and he is 19 years old, and he goes to school. He is a college student. He has a full-time job, and he boxes at night with me.
Amazing.
Yep. And then the other kid, his name is Michael James, and we call him Spoonie. And he is he's funny to see because he looks very much like LeVar at that age, Leon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he looks like a grown man, And then when he opens his mouth, he's like, "Hi, how are you?" You're like, "Wait, he's 14." You know,
Oh, wow, that's cool.
He's a child. But he's as sweet as he is big. He has a big heart. He's a golden kid. Children gravitate to him. We do a lot about coaches clinics and clinics for other gyms, and the little guys just love him because he's just a big kid himself. You know, that can really fight. That will knock your head off.
Right.
You know? Yeah, but he's so, you know, and we have this thing in our gym, you know, where we're so lucky because we have two kids the same size that can go at each other, you know, every day, and make each other better, you know, and that's exactly what they do. They're so fortunate to have, you know, usually when there's one good boxer coming out of a gym, it's because there's two.
Yeah.
And we found that that's the reason those kids' success is relying on each other for good competition on a daily basis. One thing I do want to say about, we do boxing, we spar a lot. We spar with one hand only, okay, with hand, because we don't think anybody needs to be taking a big right hand on a Wednesday night. For what? You know what I mean? So, you know, if you believe that everything comes off the jab, then that 90 to 95% of our sparring is one hand only. You know, my real concern and my real obligation to them isn't winning, it's the long-term health.
Yeah.
We have a couple of the older guys at the gym that, you know, they're in their mid to late 50s, and, you know, coordination's bad, and they can't put a whole sentence together. And that's because, you know, science has improved, our awareness has improved, and no one looked out for those guys. And those guys generously, in spite of their limitations, generously help me out. And I'm, you know, and I'm committed to making sure that my kids never take unnecessary abuse in the gym, ever. And so we're always, you know, the first rule is safety first. The second rule is shut up. Okay, so we have two rules in the gym, all right, and we follow them both pretty much every day.
And those are some precise rules. But that wraps up today's show, Coach. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was an amazing conversation. Wow.
Hey, I'm going to start watching sports now because of you, because I know you're going to be successful.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Leon for the production. Thank you, Kelly Johnson, for the announcing. Thank you, the audience, for tuning in, for your support. And we will see you here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk next week to talk about some of the hottest topics in sports. See you next week. Bye-bye.